and applications of critical minerals like uranium, thorium, lithium, and non-metals like phosphorus, apatite, graphite. Those we have discussed, and today we are going to discussing about national mineral policies and conservation and substitution of minerals, growth mineral industries, and mineral legislations. Yeah, in this study we have to discuss about evolution of a national mineral policy, concepts of national minerals policy and axioms. Minerals are depleting assets and non-renewable resources. Modern industrial economic based on minerals and mineral products. Boundaries of countries have no relation with the mineral geography, and no nation has a domestic resource sufficient for industrial need. And national mineral policy, it was proposed in 1956 in a first economic planning, 5 years planning, and after that we have developed technically with using of different techniques. We can follow some rules, regulations, terms and conditions with a licensed area. Yeah, based on that, the national mineral policies, we are getting the updated. And new exploration license policies. Once we finish the exploration, and we need to follow the second stage of the same, so that for that purpose we have to follow the different rules as per our government what it is giving suggestions and proposed materials. These all should be implemented when we are using the things. And internationally, how we can implement the things in a particular mineral deposit, whether it's a closed or a door opens, or it has restriction policies, and some requisites to frame the policies. It's a appraisal of mineral resources, leasing system of mineral rights, mine safety. Once we have sanctioned the mine, and we have to take the mine safety and measurements, and environmental conditions also need. Mineral taxation policy, conservation and substitution of mineral dressing and metallurgical innovations, and stockpiling programs, how we can stock it and how we make a group and how we will transport. These are all we need to take some precautions in this one. Mineral policies are very important for exploration and exploitation of mineral resources, where these resources were available in a country. The guidelines for the mineral trading with other nations in the international market. Yes, we have some limitations. We are working beyond the limitations. And then if we exceeded the limitations and we have a license, if you wanted to sell to other nations, definitely we need some licenses. It's as per international regulations. Yes, the national mineral policy has brought perceptive and has more weightage than any government policy which is formulated for a short tenure and which can be modified whenever required. Yes, these policies, it's depend on our requirement. We will take the precautions and we'll follow the terms and conditions. At any government policies, it's formulated by for a short tenure, and definitely there is a chance to modify the things because of according to that situations how they will be modified at the time depend on the conditions, terms and the conditions, depend on the terms and the conditions will be followed. And the government of India first national mineral policy, it was introduced, first proposed in 1948. And after that, it was modified in a first plan, 5 years planning of economy. At the time, they were introduced the same policy. Later on, in 1984, the new mineral policy was adopted. And again, in 1993, the government of India formulated the new mineral policies with a view to encourage of private investments and domestic investors and also the foreign organizations. To me, these strategies, that means if you wanted to invest in foreign market, definitely we have to need to follow the some basic principles as per international market. So according to that, definitely we have to follow some rules and regulations. The basic requisites to frame to the mineral policies or appraisal of mineral resources. It's a leasing system of mineral rights, mine safety, mineral taxation policy, conservation and substitution of minerals, and mineral dressing in the mineral metallurgical innovations are required. And after once we extracted these minerals, we need to stock and we need to filing the same with requirements of the programs. Evolution of a national mineral policy. Yes, we don't have much of a details of a mineral policies of ancient kings in India. Previously, I told you in the book of Ardhashastra, Kautilya has written by this one, and he described about a few minerals such like a gold, silver, copper, lead, tin, iron, and mercury, and the royalty collections of the king from the private mine owners after selling of mineral products. By the permanent settlement regulation of 1793, the mineral rights were vested in zamindars and landlords. throughout the province in Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, and in Madras, and some in exception of a scheduled districts. Yes, during this the British period, the mineral rights were vested in the government and in the British rules and areas and with princely states. Yeah, this is the previous story of this one. And after that, our government of India framed some rules for the grant of exploration, exploitation, and mining for mineral deposits. The act, it was in 1901, Indian Mines Act was formulated for regulation and inspection of the mines in different areas, and it was followed up to 1947. Several acts came onto the picture, like example for Indian Mines Act 1923, Indian and Coal Mines Regulation, it was in 1926. And it was 1947 in Delhi, the first mineral policy conference was organized by the Indian government with the different provinces, the delegates from the different provinces of the states and trade and commerce, including the labor and mining industries. In this conference, they have taken the resolution, and unanimously it was they were recognized the need of policy plant development of a country, and the industrial policy has taken, and it was declared in 1948. And this is applicable for mines and minerals. And next, concepts of the national mineral policies and axioms. The national mineral policy was adopted in 1984. And some mineral policies were part of the national industrial policy. And some points to be taken into the consideration. It's minerals are depleting assets and are non-renewable resources. The industrial economies are based on minerals, and the political boundaries have no relation with the mineral concessions and the mineral deposit boundaries. No nation is sufficient in mineral resources for the industrial needs. These points and musts we have to follow when we are taking the policies, or when we are going to establishing, or when we are going to starting off a mineral exploration. Minerals are depleting assets and non-renewable resource. Yes, definitely. Minerals, once it is the starting of when we are doing, if we are do the mining, it's depleting assets. It's a depleting, but it is not renewable. Mineral resources are non-renewable resources. Each ton of a coal or a petroleum or any other mineral, if you see, we will take out from the earth and it will put it to use, and it is a deprive the prosperity. 1 ton of that's a particular material. The stock of a material mineral resources which are on the earth today, there is no chance that once we used, it will not redeposited. The modern industrial economics based on the minerals and the mineral products. Mineral deposits are very unevenly distributed in the Earth's crust. The geological factors in the process of a mineral formation guide the occurrence of these natural resources in a place. Therefore, the minerals were to the no relevance to the man-made political boundaries. And no nation has domestic resources sufficient to its industrial needs. You see in United States, one of the most mineralized countries in the world, it is a deficient about 18 minerals and lacking in 5. The mineral deposits are very unevenly it's distributed in Earth's crust in the known ocean, and it can be said the self-sufficient. And some important minerals like which are useful in industry and defense. Those ore minerals are like manganese, chromium, nickel, cobalt, copper, lead, zinc, aluminum, tungsten, tin, mercury, and antimony, including with the asbestos, sheet mica, graphite, and diamond industries. As a study of these mineral distribution, the world is shows the mineral resources of the Eastern Hemisphere and is excel to those the Western Hemisphere. Some ores like manganese, chromium, tungsten, tin, bauxite, petroleum, and etc. Similar, that the Northern Hemisphere has a large proportion of a petroleum and iron ores than the Southern Hemisphere, and therefore, which includes the most industries were located in the different nations, and it was developed the best energy resources and which are useful into the steel industry. Yeah, what are the main objectives in national mineral policy? Yeah, it was in the past. In 1993, or 1990 actually, it was introduced, and afterwards it is revised in March 1993. The government of India announced a new mineral policies, which a view of encourage private investments, both sides in domestic and foreign sector. The main aim of a revised policy it is to encourage the flow of foreign investments and technology, securing the access of foreign markets also. And the main objectives are mentioned in national mineral policy. It was in 1993. To explore this identification of mineral wealth, the land and in offshore areas. That means to explore the identification of a new mineral deposits, it should be wealthy and it's related to the land and offshore areas. And to develop the mineral resources, taking into the account to the national and strategic considerations and ensure they adequate the supply and keeping to view of things the same to promote the necessary linkages for a smooth and developed and how we can implement the new things. These are the necessary for new explore things in different areas.
Recording in progress.
To minimize the advice effect of mineral development, either maybe they're located in forests or
in
in
environment.
Yes, to ensure the conduct of mining and where we are doing these operations, with due to take some precautions and safety and health for all concerned. And again, to develop the mineral resources, to taking into account of our national and strategic view, to promote the necessary linkage for a smooth and uninterrupted development of the mineral industry to meet the need of the country. Yes, definitely we promote the research and development also when we are extracting these minerals. To minimize adverse effect, the mineral development in particular socio-economic forests and environment with the relation of ecology. And the same mineral policy again, it was modified in 2015, 16, 18, and 19. It's called a recent national mineral policy, and it is focused to have a more effective, it should be meaningful and implementable policies that brings in further transparency and better regulation and enforcement, balanced social and economic growth, as well as sustainable mining processes. National Mineral Policy 2019 It is including the the introduction of a right of a past refusal for RP and PL holders, encouraging the private sector to take up exploration. And third point, it is encouragement of a merger and acquisition of mining entities, creation of a dedication mineral corridors to boost private sector mining areas. Year 2019 policies, it proposes to grant status of industry and to mining activity to boost financing of mining for private sector and for acquisitions of mineral assets. The policy also mentions rationalized reserves, areas given to PSUs, public sector units, which have not been used, and to put these areas to action. And which will give the more opportunity to private sector for participation. The policy making the policy also mentioned to make efforts to harmonize taxes, levies, and royalty with world benchmark to help the private sector. New exploration licensing policy. The government of India formulated a policy. It's called New Exploration Licensing Policy. It is called NELP. It was brought in 1997. The main objective of this policy is to attract significant risk capital from Indian and foreign companies. Yes. To explore oil and gas resources in the country to meet the rising demands of oil and gas. This policy it was approved in 1997. Since 1999, then licenses for exploration are being awarded only through the competitive bidding systems, and national oil companies are required to compete an equal footing with Indian foreign companies to secure the petroleum exploration licenses. If the following steps it should be made. One, it is 100% FEI is allowed under NELP. No mandatory state participation through ONGC. Blocks to be awarded through open international competitive bidding. ONGC and oil to get the same fiscal and contract terms as private companies. The rate of 12.5% for online areas and 10% for the offshore areas. The royalty to be charged at off the prevailing rate for deep water areas beyond the 400 meters. It's a measuring in bathymetry. Companies to be exempted from payments of important duty and goods imported for petroleum and operations. International implication of mineral resources. We have a global review of an insight to A.M. Bateman's observation on the topic before Indian Science Congress in 1954. And it is a useful discussion. It's related to distribution and sufficient. The conclusion was made in the USA and British Commonwealth countries. It's a complement to each. The other West European countries by themselves are wonderfully, woefully deficient in the most essential minerals of the industry. The national mineral policy has to be viewed in two angles. One, it is a domestic level, and second one, it is the foreign sector. Each country has its own problems, and each tries to develop to domestic resources, make search for new ones, and reduce the external portions. To achieve the object, countries follow their closed door. Those policies, maybe it is an open door policies, or maybe it is restricted. In a closed door system policy, no foreign investment investor allowed to participate in except the allies. Where we come into the open door policy, it's a way the foreign investment and it should be participated freely and thorough. In a restricted policy, the investment and participation is allowed on minority share basis. Mainly communist countries follows the closed door policy only. The policy decision again, it varies from country to countries, and some countries having and some have not. Obviously, some countries look upon for forest supplies from the different and diversified sources to maintain the regular inflow of raw material. The attitude of their government is to encourage their people acquiring mining rights wherever possible, and it is extend to technical know in a mining and get back for the mineral resources. It is only in the context of the Japanese have the financed for a development of a bilateral hill range to ensure the supplies of iron ore for their own countries. Japanese and Japan has also extended the considerable technical know-how, capital requirement, and finance in iron ore mines of Goa. The collaboration it is depend on the mutual understanding and common modern feature they will be thinking. At the same time, the collaboration in fabrication and metallurgy is viewed with a suspicion political motives. The mineral policy as a whole, it's based on the realistic knowledge the country's mineral resources and requisites to frame the policies. It's the first thing, it is a relation to the appraisal mineral resources, leasing the system of the mineral rights, mine safety, mineral taxation policy, conservation and substitution of minerals, mineral dressing, and metallurgical innovations. These are the must and should we have to follow the whoever start the mineral exploration or mineral for mining. Conservation of minerals and substitutions. The minerals are depleting assets 100%. These are not non-renewables. For sustainable development, conservation, substitution, it's essential. Conservation is an effort for optimum utilization of minerals. Any effort that we can make to increase the life of a deposit without any sacrificing of own needs. It is an attempt towards conservation. And the substitution is the process to find out the alternative things for materials where we can do the very short supply. So a substitute can have only nearly similar properties to that which is substituted and available being cheaper and very easier. Conservation is an effort. Utilize minerals, resources available in the best possible way. It's a depend on the industrial needs, changing the technical requirements. The following methods should be adapted to achieve the conservation of mineral resources. How we can conserve the mineral resources. Efficient method.
A conservation and substitution of minerals. The objectives conservation of minerals. It's efficient method of mining, beneficiation of low-grade minerals, use and rescue, reuse scraps, recovery of all associated elements, substitution of minerals, the mineral and energy resources for a future outlook, the substitution of minerals, synthetic minerals, substitution in metals. These some requisites and to frame the policies. Keeping over four axioms is necessary, universally recognized, and which are enabled and elaborated to earlier basis and some guidelines we need to follow. And it's need for further framework policies. It is worked out to the relation to one, it is appraisal of mineral resource. Second one is it is a leasing system of mineral rights. Third one, it is a mine safety. Fourth one is a mineral taxation and policies. Fifth one is the conservation and substitution of minerals. And sixth one, it is a mineral dressing and the metallurgical innovations. And seventh one, it is the stockpiling programs. First of all, if we have to the realistic the picture of the countries and the mineral resources is singularly important, for which it is interlinked and inter-integrated the policies to relating the mining setting and setting up for industries in public and private sectors. And second one, it is a leasing system of mineral rights. Leasing system of mineral rights mainly it's a consent sanctions of prospecting and mining licenses, computation of areas, period of concession should be changed from time to time based on the demand and supply for some minerals in international market. The mine safety it's also necessary for that. When we are doing the mining operations and it's very harmful to the nature and it is necessary to prevent the accidents in your mine. The effective mining method should be developed to reduce the mine accidents and steps to be taken to minimize adverse impact of the mining on environment and health also. Next one, it is a mineral taxation policy. The mineral taxation policy, it was introduced in 1961. It will come under Tax Act 1961. The mining industry is treated at par with the industries according to the taxation law amendments, and those will be taken in 1970. There is some tax relief on expenditure, prospecting and scientific research. Taxation and mining industry should be taken such as a way that industry gets a sufficient encouragement should be modified according to needs. Mineral dressing and metallurgical innovations. Research organizations should innovate a new mineral processes and mineral beneficence techniques. There is a need to cooperate and coordinate among the research organizations and industries. The conservation and substitution of minerals. How we can conserve the minerals, or how we can conserve the mineral resources, or its utilization without any wastage. In the various regulatory measurements to ensure the conservation have been provided for in the mine and the mineral resource. The act it was in 1986 and subsequent amendments has been realized. The important sources as the important it's taken for a right purpose and the recycling of a metallic scrap and mineral waste it should be undertaken. The effective and implementation of conservation it can be adopted through exploitation strategies which shall be formulated and reviewed periodically and basis of their available research. But ultimately, the conservation will depend more on public consciousness than more legislative measurements. A stockpiling programs. A stockpiling is usually resorted in the case of a shortage of minerals when deficient in supply. The policy is adopted to maintain the supply of minerals when during the contingencies like a war and other exigencies. Yeah, these are all very necessary when we are doing the exploration purpose of all these. Definitely we have to follow the basic things. Yeah, conservation and substitution of minerals. A conservation it's an effort to utilize the mineral resources and the unavailable or the best possible what it is, and it is depending upon industrial needs and changing the technological reserve requirements. And conservation does not mean the accumulation of minerals and without any putting it to reuse. The following steps we need to measure the and we should be adapted to achieve the conservation of mineral resources. The first thing it is efficient method for mining to take out every possible tonnage and locked with underground stage. Second one, it is a utilization of linear, unmarketable ores by innovations in addressing in the metallurgical practices, use and reuse of scraps, recovery of all associated elements as co-products or by the products, economy and in use of minerals, synthesis and substitution, it's a necessary. Efficient method of mining. When we mine the particular mineral, and it is depending on the nature of a deposit, and the altitude also is very important of a mineral deposits, whether it is related to the country rock or not. Yeah, there are many more factors will be there. And then one of the mining method which is applicable for exploration and exploiting of a mineral deposit. The main consider it's the thing, it is the choice of a mining method in such cases is economy and minimum and maximum recovery from the deposit without any losses. And second one, it is beneficiation of low-grade minerals. Yeah, beneficiation of the low-grade minerals, that means we should get the maximum of the beneficiation with the low-grade mineral deposits also. Our country is able to provide and produce cold bonded pellets for the using of the blast furnace, which requires to less energy and avoids the heavy capital investments compared to the conventional heat hardening processes. And similarly, instead of using the limestone pumps, and lime dust is being injected is one of the blast furnace at a Durgapur steel plant. It is a proposed achievement will certain go and a long way conservations of minerals in steel industry. To quote another instance of beneficiation, this time in the respect of the molybdenum, which is scarce and the strategic mineral. It's a repute reveals the following the molybdenum content in the copper ore in Rakha mines. And Bihar, it's getting the successful and it is getting successful enriched from 0.014 percentage to 47.58 percentage in the concentration of a mineral deposit. And overall recovery, it is 80.65 by the mineral racing with the wing of a Baba Atomic Research Center at Hyderabad. Use and reuse scraps. For the purpose of the utilization of the minerals to divide into the two classes, the first one, it is expandable and second one, it is a non-expandable. Expandable minerals, those which are having the practically no salvage value, once consumes or lost forever, coal, petroleum, natural gases. In fact, most of the non-metallic minerals with the exclusion of precision stones come under this class. And the percentage recovery of the scrap of the individual metals, we can apply this into the individual metals. And for the period of the recovery, reuse may vary depending upon the type of use. It is put into the metals used for chemicals, just like the many non-metals do not salvage value. Non-expendable values of metallic minerals has greatly aided conservation. Yes, some following of recovery and its association of metalloids. Recovery of all the possible elements which occurs co-products or the byproducts is very essential for working of individual deposits. In addition to that, when we do not have a certain mineral deposits in the country, the co-product by any product provide the metal potential sources. Those, how we can protect those minerals, and India, it is produced 1,13,777 kg of co-product by a product of silver during in 1980. At the same time, the gold production, it's during the same year. It was only about 2,452 kg, including by a product of a gold by the copper smelter in Gaslia of Bihar. Out of actually, it was 1,13,777 kg of silver produced. Gold, again, it is refining at a Kolar and Hatti. It has given about around 117 kg and 60 kg of respectively. And while it is doing the Tandu lead smelter, Bihar has given 10,579 kg of a copper, and copper smelter Gulcha, it's contributed to 3,331 kg. And at Vishakhapatnam refinery, it has given 290 kg. Besides of a gold and silver, a number of allied products are produced during the refining of a copper ores in both K3 copper complex, it is called as a KCC, and K3 Rajasthan and Indian copper complex, It's a ICC, Gulf, Gatlicia in Bihar. And production of allied, some products from KCC and ICC during this 1980. Name of the refinery, it's KCC, K3 copper complex. It is allied by the product of sulfuric acid and installed capacity, it is 1,82,000. The production, it is of 17,960 tons. And again, if you can see into the gypsum, almost it is a 3 lakhs tons installed capacity, and it has a given the production 6,983. When you come into this is the sulfuric acid. In Indian copper complex, the sulfuric acid, it is used as an allied project from products. Installed capacity 54,000, and the production of the same, it is 4,330. Economy of minerals. Economy in use of minerals. Economy in use of minerals, particularly we have a limited source. Yes. Necessary to steps to be improve mineral resources. There is no point to getting the either frightened by the pessimistic viewer point of the feeling. overly confident about the optimistic view. Yeah, some mental resource of the measurements we need for that. One, it is a discovery of deposit similar to those are being worked. Development of a deposits contain the lower concentration of elements than it was hitherto exploited. Development of a new types of deposits not hitherto they exploited. These might be termed as a unconventional deposit. Increase of the scrap and the waste recovery. Synthetic manufacture and substitution of scarce minerals by those that are more readily available by other of the minerals such as a gas, plastics, and etc. Discovery of a new deposits. The discovery of a new deposit that's it's a being the worked. It's one important measure improvement our mineral resources. The latest advanced geological, geophysical, and geochemical methods to be adapted and different plane compared order to prospecting methods. Even in laboratories, latest techniques to be used like neutron activation analysis and atomic absorption spectrometry, ICP-MS, ICP-ES, and these uh, instruments which are used for rapid elemental analysis. And second thing, it is the development of a low-grade deposit. As regards the development of deposits containing the low concentration of elements that were to explore iron, the copper, or may be cited to as specular deposits. We in India that as in today, if you have enough iron ore resources, but look in US, in this respect, the high trade iron ore deposits and Mesabi range, which over the centuries is all about the use there. And let us see some more examples in general. Advanced ore containing at least 0.6% of a copper, and it constitutes the copper of ore mineral to extraction. Advanced meant in the copper beneficial techniques, namely its flotation, has changed the requirement, and as a result, copper the mines are operating with the grades of 0.6% and even 0.4 copper are processed. One can it's processed there